Timur the Great. Also known as Tamerlane, the name Timur means iron, and gives a hint at the character of the man. Timur was the founder of the giant Timurid Empire, which encompassed much of Central Asia and the Middle East. Much of his lifetime was spent at war, and he campaigned everywhere from southern Russia to Turkey and even India, and he seemed obsessed with the idea of restoring the great Mongol Empire forged by Genghis Khan. His military campaigns were particularly bloody, even by the standard of his day, and are thought to have caused the death of up to 17 million people, which was 5% of the world's population at that time. Like the Mongols before him, Timur was particularly cruel and ruthless to those who would dare defy him. During his conquest of Persia, the city of Herat refused to surrender to his armies. His response was swift and merciless. The city was completely destroyed, and most of its inhabitants were massacred. However, more creative punishments would be used for the already conquered who would dare to rebel. In 1385, the conquered city of Esfazar revolted while Timur was campaigning in Georgia. The rebellious town was quickly recaptured, and the survivors of the attack are said to have been cemented into the walls of the city. A grisly fate also awaited the rebellious city of Isfahan, which revolted and killed Timur's tax collectors. The city's 200,000 inhabitants were massacred, and great towers were built out of the heads of the slain. 100,000 Hindu captives were also beheaded after the capture of Delhi. 60,000 people were enslaved in Armenia and Georgia, and 90,000 people were killed in Baghdad, where severed heads were arranged into giant pyramids. Such massacres occurred all over Timur's empire, and he seemed to have a liking for constructing giant pyramids or towers from the heads of his enemies. However, this cruel behaviour was not without logic. These tactics of terror seem to have been part of Timur's overall strategy and were very effective at discouraging resistance and possibly even preventing further bloodshed. Many towns and cities would simply surrender without a fight for fear of Timur's cruel reputation, and conquered territories were unlikely to revolt once they learned the fate of previous rebels. Timur finally died in 1405 while invading China, and in a final twist to his legacy, his casket was inscribed with the words, "Whomsoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." 3 days after his casket was opened by archaeologists, Adolf Hitler began his invasion of the Soviet Union, and shortly after Timur's remains were reburied, the Germans were defeated at Stalingrad.